Introduction. Humanity is continuously on the path to solve mysteries of the past. This process includes not only getting more accurate accounts or facts about past events but dealing with strange and out-of-place artifacts. One of the most mysterious objects recorded in Judeo-Christian literature is the Ark of the Covenant. As the story goes, the Ark episode's first appear was made when Moses led previously enslaved Hebrews from Egypt up through the wilderness on their path to Canaan. The biblical account relates that, approximately 1 year after the Israelites' exodus from Egypt, the Ark was created according to the pattern given to Moses by God when the Israelites were encamped at the foot of biblical Mount Sinai. The God Yahweh or Jehovah asks Moses to climb up a mountain to meet him, and gives him 2 tablets of stones. As a container for these commandment tablets, Moses is also instructed on making the Ark of the Covenant. The biblical account continues that, after its creation by Moses, the Ark was carried by the Israelites during their 40 years of wandering in the desert. Whenever the Israelites camped, the Ark was placed in a separate room in a sacred tent, called the tabernacle. Context. When analyzing something of high mystery and complexity, it is necessary to establish a layer of context through which one can get a better view of what they are looking at. 1. We should examine what is said about the Ark, its origins, functions, structure and capacities. 2. Then see if anything else in the religious books had similar functions or structural similarities. 3. Then we should compare the attributes and functions to relics or records of other such mystery objects from other traditions or parts of the world. What made the Ark special was the fact that it had several unique abilities. It served as a communication device with God Yahweh, it aided the Hebrews in battle, it was also a dangerous object that had to be handled with care, failure to do so usually resulted in deaths. It also had the ability to affect matter, displace matter or distort space as in the incident where it is used to part the waters of Jordan River. With all these aspects and capacities, we are left to wonder whether the Ark should be treated as a religious artifact or a piece of ancient technology or maybe both. The basic facts. The gold-plated acacia wood chest was carried by its staves and always hidden and carefully concealed under a large veil made of skins and blue cloth. It was kept in the Temple of Solomon in Jerusalem until the city was sacked by the Babylonians in 597 BC. Whether it was destroyed, stolen, moved, or remained hidden after Babylonian forces conquered the city and leveled the temple in 587 BCE is not known. There are 4 basic facts to consider in this story. 1. The Ark contained the 2 stone tablets of the 10 Commandments. According to various texts within the Hebrew Bible, it also contained Aaron's rod and a pot of manna. 2. God was said to have spoken with Moses from between the 2 cherubim on the Ark's cover. God. 3. It contained golden pot of manna, staff of Aaron, 10 Commandment tablets. 4. Was a dangerous object. What is an Ark? Defining the word Ark. Before even trying to understand the mysteries of the Ark, we need to know what the word Ark means. The words arc, arch and arc are all connected. In geometry, an arc is a curved line connecting 2 points, generally part of the circumference of a circle. An electric arc is an electrical discharge between 2 electrodes. An arch on the other hand is a curved symmetrical structure spanning an opening, a bridge between 2 points, and a doorway. In biblical terms, the word ark with the letter K is used for both a chest or box containing Moses' stone tablets and a boat used by Noah to survive the Great Flood. Components. Form. The ark was 3 feet 9 inches long and 2-3 high and wide, hung and carried on poles, golden box with wooden box inside, and another golden box inside the wooded box, containing 10 Commandment stones and Aaron's staff. It was made of acacia wood and covered in gold. Its lid or the mercy seat has 2 cherubim facing each other on 2 sides. Their outspread wings over the top of the ark formed the throne of God, while the ark itself was his footstool. Ark box. The ark was encased in silver and gold to create a radiation shield. Handling it needed care, and the ark box was needed not only radiation containment but also energy multiplication. In Egyptian tradition, arks carried by two staves on shoulders of bearers usually were shown as boxes and boats. Funny connector between the Ark of Moses and Ark of Noah, usually shown with winged beings on top. Some have suggested that it was originally in the Great Pyramid, housed in the granite sarcophagus inside the king's chamber where it fits perfectly. In Sanskrit, ark or arka means heat or lightning flash. This connection to heat or light as an arc welding is also connected to the word pyramid meaning fire in the middle. Cherubim. One of the most intriguing aspects of the ark are the cherubs at the two ends of the ark's cover with wings spread above. Cherubim are usually depicted as winged beings next to a throne. Historical context: throne guards. Cherubim are portrayed on ancient Near East depictions as throne guards. Chariot propellers. In the Bible, cherubim are said to haul God's chariot, and God is described in the book of Psalms, Samuel and Ezekiel as riding on cherubs. Ezekiel 9, for example, talks of God riding a divine chariot pulled by cherubs. Therefore, cherubim serve as spaceships, interdimensional transporters or their components. Portal guardians, Garden of Eden cherubs. One example of the use of the cherubim is in the story of the Garden of Eden. After Adam and Eve eat of the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, God puts two cherubim to guard against access to the tree of life, lest they eat of it and become like gods. In my recent research and video on the identity of the tree of life in religion and myths, I showed that the tree of life symbolized the process or mechanism to access the different worlds, realms or dimensions of existence. One way this was achieved physically was using interdimensional portals and stargates, either natural or man-made. Therefore, the two cherubim guiding the tree of life interdimensional stargates were keys or a mechanism to close or open the stargates. The idea of cherubs and flaming sword guarding the tree in the garden after the fall implies that the garden existed at a higher dimension. The tree was a portal to higher and lower dimensions and locations. The cherubim was the key to lock or unlock the portal or stargate, sealed after the fall. Being expelled from the garden meant being thrown to lower densities or realms of existence. Egyptian cherubim guarding portals. In the resurrection of Osiris story, ancient Egyptian depicted Osiris as a pillar emerging from between the wings of two beings facing each other. Other depictions show two cherubim with a lotus flower in the middle and a being emerging from the lotus flower. The Egyptian pillar represented the tree of life and the lotus flower, all symbolizing interdimensional portals or stargates to other worlds. Crystal tablets. The so-called stone tablets were not real pieces of rocks but something else like crystal material like blue sapphire. In Hebrew they are called Lukat Habirat, which literally means, cubes of the covenant, rather than tablets. Rods, rod of Aaron into the staff of Moses. The rods of both Moses and Aaron were endowed with miraculous power during the plagues of Egypt. God Yahweh commanded Moses to raise his rod over the Red Sea when it was to be parted and in prayer over Israel in battle. Moses brings forth water from a stone using his rod. One dramatic scene involving the use of the rod, also curiously called the rod of God, is when Moses has an encounter with Pharaoh's priest, and they both have rods that turn into serpent. Aaron's rod swallows the Egyptian priest's rod in a duel. Beyond this being an incident of magic, this was probably a contest or fight using advanced Star Wars technology like laser or some form of plasmic energy discharge appearing to the lay audience like serpents. Moses also uses the rod or staff to blast open a rock and bring forth water. The idea of striking or pointing the rod on rock to produce water meant the use of some king of exotic energy to bore through rock and bring water. Interesting enough, according to the story, Moses is said to have upset God when he misused the rod by striking the rock rather just pointing it. Could this be because Moses was damaging this technological device by hitting the rock rather just using some kind of touch switch or activation? Moses' epic Star Wars technology and aliens Ark of the Covenant. 1. Moses goes into the pyramid and uses the alien device to talk to Yahweh. The burning bush might have been the technological device, glowing crystal light technology rather literary burning in flames. 3. Moses steals the devices from the pyramid and takes off. 4. Moses then uses this technology, or the alien device component called the rod or staff, to part the waters. Crystal tablets container. The Ark appears to be a piece of equipment with several functioning components, and fully assembled it had many functions. However, these components also worked independently. 1. The tablets were probably the central technological chip. 2. The Ark box housed the tablets but also needed a larger container like a temple designed to unique specifications and geometry or a pyramid. 3. The rod or scepter was also part of this system or equipment, either capable of working independently or being remote controlled or charged by the Ark. Divine podium and interdimensional communication. The Bible refers to God Yahweh as the one who sits upon cherubs and speaks from above the cherubs. Furthermore, the cherubs are said to guard God's throne and the Ark is said to be God's footstool or podium. Ark was frequently used as a communication device. The so-called commandments was probably voice command technology rather than a set of moral rules about not stealing your neighbor's wife or keeping the Sabbath. The context of the word command must be similar to today's computer programs with the command line functions. Spatial manipulation. The Ark parted the waters of the Jordan River and the Red Sea. When the Israelites, led by Joshua toward the Promised Land, arrived at the banks of the Jordan River, the Ark was carried in the lead preceding the people and was the signal for their advance. During the crossing, the river grew dry as soon as the feet of the priests carrying the Ark touched its waters, and remained so until the priests, with the Ark, left the river after the people had passed over. Weapon. In the Battle of Jericho, the Ark was carried round the city once a day for 7 days, preceded by the armed men and 7 priests sounding 7 trumpets of ram's horns. On the 7th day, the 7 priests sounding the 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the Ark compassed the city 7 times and, with a great shout, Jericho's wall fell flat and the people took the city. The Ark was carried into the battle, such as in Midian war. The Israelites would rally and vanquish their foes when the Ark was brought to sites of battle. Clues and connections. Mount Sinai. It is difficult to understand the Ark story without looking at the context from which it all began, precisely the story of Moses and the stone tablets. The biblical Mount Sinai is also referred to as Horeb and the mountain of God or Elohim. Horeb is said to mean glowing or heat. Why was it called the mountain of God? As if God lived there, or possibly manifested or communicated there. Some versions of the Bible do not say that Moses just climbed up the mountain but state, so Moses set out with his assistant Joshua, and Moses went up into the mountain of God. To show that this is not an isolated error, the same concept of going into the mountain is repeated in Exodus 19, warning people not to touch or go into the mountain. Apparently, touching that mountain is a serious crime punishable by death. As the plot thickens, a cloud appears covering the top of the mountain and there is lightning, thunder, shaking as God descends onto the mountain. The description sounds as if God was landing his spaceship on the mountain top. Moses eventually goes up or into the mountain and see God, described as standing on a pavement of sapphire. The idea of God standing on a sapphire crystal leaves us wondering if the crystal device in the Great Pyramid had the ability to project holographic images for communication or opening portals into other dimensions. Ark geometry and Stargate connections. Going back to the word ark, in Greek the word arka meaning origin is written with the letters alpha, rho, chi and eta, phonetically same as Greek capitals px. This is the root of the Christian monogram chi rho, combing the p and x into xp representing Christ. The chi rho symbols is geometrically related to the Egyptian Ankh symbols and phonetically close to the word arka, from which chi rho originates. In turn, both the Egyptian Ankh symbol and Greek arka represented by the chi rho symbol are connected geometrically and phonetically to the ark. The arc geometry resemble an oval above ox or an omega symbols on top of a rectangle. The Egyptian arc geometry is an oval on a T, like the arc mounted on a vertical bar. In the chi rho geometry, the oval turns into a P and the horizontal bar or rectangle is turned into an X. The X is the diagonal lines of the rectangle. On top of that, the chi rho represents Christ, whose crucifixion is geometrically shown as an oval on a cross or oval on a T or tau cross, just like an Egyptian Ankh. The oval on top of the arc box, or the two cherubim more precisely, form the geometry of the Greek omega symbol. The ancient Egyptian Ru symbols or hieroglyph is the oval placed above the Ankh or tau cross is a door, a gate, a mouth, representing a portal between worlds. Scientific perspective. It was probably very radioactive, and dangerous to handle. First of all, parts of it were covered in gold, helping to contain the radiation. Second, those who handle it wrongly were instantly zapped to death. Some suggest that the Ark of the Covenant was an electrical capacitor. In 2 Samuel 6, a man named Uzzah disregarded warnings, touched the Ark improperly and was electrocuted. The man attempted to place it back on the ox-drawn cart and died. When the Philistines took the ark, they smitten with boils, suggesting radiation burns. Could this be one of the reasons why the high priests wore breastplates called hashin adorned with precious stones, to protect themselves from radiation when they used the ark to communicate with God? Many theories have been brought forward on the possible scientific basis of how such a machine worked. My suggestion is that none of these explanations is adequate because the Ark contained technology beyond what we have today. In fact, it qualifies to be called an alien device. But from the brief descriptions of the feats it performed, we get hints that it was a machine of multiple advanced uses. The idea that it was used to communicate it or with the god Jehovah as well as parting waters means that it could alter or displace the physical spatial arrangement of matter, but could also open dimensional stargates or portals. This is not just a capacitor, it's far beyond that. The Ark most likely emitted radiation as well as some kind of high electric charge. When the Philistines took the Ark, they most likely didn't know how to safely handle it, and a whole bunch of them got boils, much like the effects of nuclear radiation. When the Ark was in the hands of Israelites, they too suffered for their own mishandling of the Ark. About 50,000 people died because they had opened the Ark and looked inside it. On one occasion the Ark was being transported on a cart and started sliding down. Uzzah, one of the cart drivers, jumped to action, putting out his hand to steady the Ark, and he was zapped dead, smitten by the merciless Arkansas. Crystal tablets. According to traditional teachings of Judaism in the Talmud, the tablets on which the Ten Commandments were written were made of blue sapphire stone. I contend that the tablets were some kind of exotic crystals and the commandments could have gone beyond being simply some engraved set of rules but voice-activated technology. These crystals could be connected to the Egyptian Benben stone or Omphalos stones of the ancient world with capacities of time-space manipulation or opening interdimensional portals, exotic crystal technology. We are talking here something far beyond our capacity today, simply alien or Atlantean. And it was not just the crystal tablets in the Ark box, but also the rods used by Moses and Aaron. On top of that, the high priests who used the Ark to communicate with God had to put breastplates called Hashin containing some crystal stones including what they called Urim and Thummim, understood to have been used for divination. The Urim and Thummim is similar to the tablets of destiny in Assyrian and Babylonian literature. The perspective that the Ark was a piece of advanced technology solves a lot of problems, but it also brings new questions. If the Ark was a piece of advanced technology for interdimensional communication or travel, where did it come from? Did the biblical guide Yahweh give it to Moses? Or was it made by Moses? Was it an advanced piece of technology from ancient pre-dynastic Egypt? Or surviving advanced technology from Atlantis? Did Moses steal it from the Egyptians? If so, why did the Egyptian abandon such an advanced piece of technology? If Moses was Pharaoh Akhenaten or connected to Pharaoh Akhenaten, was the Ark a piece of alien technology used by Akhenaten to communicate with a deity called Aten? We are talking here something far beyond our capacity today, simply alien or Atlantean. And it was not just the crystal tablets in the Ark box, but also the rods used by Moses and Aaron. On top of that, the high priests who used the Ark to communicate with God had to put breastplates called Hashin containing some crystal stones including what they called Urim and Thummim, understood to have been used for divination. The Urim and Thummim is similar to the tablets of destiny in Assyrian and Babylonian literature. The perspective that the Ark was a piece of advanced technology solves a lot of problems, but it also brings new questions. If the Ark was a piece of advanced technology for interdimensional communication or travel, where did it come from? Did the biblical guide Yahweh give it to Moses? Or was it made by Moses? Was it an advanced piece of technology from ancient pre-dynastic Egypt? Or surviving advanced technology from Atlantis? Did Moses steal it from the Egyptians? If so, why did the Egyptian abandon such an advanced piece of technology? If Moses was Pharaoh Akhenaten or connected to Pharaoh Akhenaten, was the Ark a piece of alien technology used by Akhenaten to communicate with a deity called Aten?